In the year 1324, a man crossed the Sahara Desert with so much gold that the price of the metal collapsed for more than a decade. But here is the part they rarely tell you. He was not European. He was not Asian. He was African. And what if I told you that this was not an exception, but only one chapter in a forgotten age when African kingdoms shaped the world's economy, science, art, and power in ways that still echo today? Picture a world before colonization. No maps with neat borders. No single continent claiming to rule the globe. Power flowed where wealth, knowledge, and organization existed. And for centuries, Africa was not on the sidelines of history. Africa was history happening in real time. Before we go deeper into this story, where in the world are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments. And if this channel brings you stories that matter, like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Now, let's continue. The sun rises over the Niger River, its waters glowing like molten bronze. Canoes cut through the current, heavy with salt, gold, kola nuts, and manuscripts wrapped in leather. Markets hum with voices in dozens of languages. Drums beat somewhere in the distance, not for war, but for celebration. This was not a primitive world struggling to survive. This was a confident world that knew its worth. For centuries, we were told a story that Africa, before European contact, was a continent without history, a dark, static place waiting for civilization to arrive. That story is a lie. This is the true story of Africa's golden ages, the breathtaking kingdoms that built wonders, mastered global trade, and redefined the medieval world. And this is the story of why you were never taught their names. To understand the scale of what was lost, we must first erase the map in our minds. Forget modern borders. In the centuries between 1000 and 1500, while much of Europe was fragmented by feudal wars, struggling with disease and poverty, large parts of Africa were organized into powerful states. They had standing armies, complex tax systems, international trade routes, and universities that attracted scholars from across continents. And that is when Africa's golden ages appeared. The engine of this golden age was trade. But not just any trade. We're talking about the superhighway of the medieval world, the trans-Saharan routes. For over 500 years, caravans of thousands of camels did what no ocean could. They knit together continents. From the forests of West Africa came gold. From the mines of the Sahara came salt, more precious than gold for preserving life. And from the north came books, scholars, and a new faith, Islam. But how do you build an empire on a trade route controlled by the brutal Sahara? You need more than wealth. You need genius. Meet Sunchata Keita, the Lion King. In the early 12th century, he united the Mandinka peoples. His secret was simple and revolutionary. He did not just control the trade routes, he protected them. He created peace. And from that peace, the Mali Empire was born. This is where our man from the desert, Mansa Musa, begins his journey. He was not just a random king who struck gold. He was the product of a system, a sophisticated bureaucratic empire that valued law, education, and administration. When he came to power in 1312, he did not just inherit a treasury, he inherited a vision. At its height, the Mali Empire was about the size of Western Europe, home to perhaps 10 million people. Its most famous city, Timbuktu, was not just a market, it was the Oxford of the Sahara, home to the University of Sankore, where 25,000 students studied law, medicine, astronomy, and philosophy. This was the world that produced Mansa Musa, a world of immense sophistication waiting for its moment on the global stage. And in 1324, Musa decided to take that stage in the most audacious way imaginable. He would go on pilgrimage to Mecca. But this would not be a quiet journey of faith. This would be a statement. Mansa Musa's pilgrimage was the Super Bowl, the moon landing, and a royal wedding rolled into one for the 14th century world. It was performance art on a geopolitical scale. His goal was to announce Mali as a peer to the greatest Islamic empires of Egypt and Arabia. Contemporary chroniclers describe the air in Cairo as thick with disbelief. The clink of Malian gold became the city's soundtrack for months. And then came the crash. Musa spent and gave away so much gold that he literally flooded the market. He literally caused inflation across the region, devaluing Egyptian currency for over a decade. This was the moment Africa crashed into the European imagination. For the first time, European mapmakers were forced to draw West Africa not as a land of monsters, but a land ruled by a powerful, devout, and fabulously wealthy king. The legend of El Rey Meli was born. But while Mali dominated the West, 1,000 miles to the east, another kingdom was reaching its height in near silence, building not with gold, but with stone. This is Great Zimbabwe, and its story is the story of a different kind of power. Not control of gold, but mastery of stone, trade, and spirit. This was the capital of the Kingdom of Zimbabwe, a Shona civilization that prospered by connecting the gold fields of the interior to the Swahili coast ports on the Indian Ocean. Chinese celadon pottery, Persian glass, and Arab coins have all been found here, proof of a trade network spanning half the globe. The Great Enclosure is the largest single ancient structure in sub-Saharan Africa. Its walls, built without mortar, are so precise that not even a knife blade can be inserted between the stones. This was an engineering marvel that required iron tools, sophisticated mathematics, and a highly organized society. But for centuries, European explorers who stumbled upon these ruins refused to believe Africans built them. They credited Phoenicians, the Queen of Sheba, even King Solomon, because admitting the truth would have shattered the racist justification for colonialism. If a so-called primitive people could create this, what right did Europe have to civilize them? So they lied. They discarded evidence. They rewrote history. The truth fought its way out. Great Zimbabwe was built by the ancestors of the Shona people. It was a political and spiritual capital where kings linked the people to their ancestors and to God. It stands today as a testament to who they are. But a storm was coming from the sea, a storm that would connect the fates of Mali, Zimbabwe, and every major African kingdom. While these civilizations reached their peaks, a new player was inching down the African coast, driven by a desperate hunger for gold and a crusader's zeal. The Portuguese were the first. Their mission was to outflank the Muslim world, find the source of African gold, and secure a sea route to India. When they rounded Cape Bojador in 1434, they did not just unlock a geographical barrier, they unlocked a devastating new chapter. At first, contact was trade. The Portuguese built trading posts. They wanted gold, and kingdoms like the Congo wanted European goods and technology. There was even alliance. The Congo king converted to Christianity, but the exchange quickly warped. The product Europe demanded above all others was not gold or ivory, it was human beings. Guns entered the system. Wars multiplied, captives were traded for weapons. A brutal, self-perpetuating cycle of violence began. Along the East Coast, the Portuguese did not come to trade. They came to conquer. Cities like Kilwa were bombarded, looted, and subdued. The goal was total control of the Indian Ocean trade, cutting African kingdoms off from ancient partners. By the late 1500s, the world was closing in. Mali, weakened by internal disputes, was shrinking. Great Zimbabwe had been abandoned, likely due to environmental strain and shifting trade routes. And into this fragile moment marched European powers, no longer curious outsiders, but conquerors seeking to own the source of wealth itself. As colonialism tightened its grip in the 19th century, Africa was robbed not only of land and artifacts, but of memory. Its achievements were denied, hidden, or credited to anyone else.
The truth was buried for decades. The great medieval kingdoms changed, fractured, and transformed, but they did not disappear. They left legacies that endure. The manuscripts of Timbuktu survived in secret libraries, protected by families who risked everything to preserve them. The stone traditions of Zimbabwe live on, etched into the nation's identity. The Swahili language still carries the rhythm of a global, cosmopolitan past. The Golden Ages ended, but the people did not. The true tragedy was not that these civilizations fell. All civilizations do. The tragedy was that their very existence was stolen from the world's memory. So why should we care about Africa's medieval golden ages? Because history is not just a record of the past. It is the story we tell ourselves about who we are. For centuries, Africa was written as a void, a darkness. But that darkness was manufactured. Africa did not wait to be discovered. Africa was already golden before colonization.